though, the greatest world champion in SmackDown history, the great Khali. Let's talk about it. The great Khali is gonna. There he is. There he is. The great Khali, accompanied by Ranjan Singh, there as the world champion, is going into the 2021 WWE Hall of Fame. He is by far the biggest star in the history of India wrestling. He's a former world champion, made him the first ever world champion of Indian descent and South Asian descent. Shout out to my Desi brother. He won the Slammy Award in 2008 for Damn Moment of the Year for hosting the Kali Kiss Cam, which everyone detested.
Yeah, yeah.
He also is what led us to Jinder Mahal being the WWE champion. Amazing work there by Khali. We love it. He also had one of the best gimmicks in WWE. Big sexy Khali.
Yeah.
When he hosted the Kiss Cam. So great Khali had a great run in WWE. Got paid a lot of money. A lot of people think this is a very controversial pick. I don't agree. Trevor, I know you do think it was a controversial pick, so why don't you start us off in the conversation about Khali?
So,
What irks you about this?
here's my thing. Like, and I kind of talked about it briefly earlier. I don't hate Great Khali. I don't. I just think Great Khali would have been a lot better if he could walk or move. Like, he was one of the stiffest wrestlers I've ever seen in my life. He had bad knees, which I honestly believe hindered his career a lot, honestly. When he was in the ring, like he had skills. I mean, like he really didn't have to do much because Runyon Singh talked for him. Like he didn't have to do anything. He was already sold because Runyon Singh did a good job with that.
Yo, Ranjan Singh, man. Before we go on, Ranjan Singh deserves a shout out. He
Oh, he
made
definitely
that
does.
gimmick work.
He
He was
definitely does.
great. I think
Like,
he's still employed by WWE as a writer to this day, which
oh
is
wow,
crazy.
I was gonna
Yeah,
ask it, and also backtrack a little bit. Is Molly Holly still employed with them? Because I know she was
I
behind
think
the
she
scenes.
was in NXT. She was NXT, right? She was an
Yeah, and
NXT coach, I believe. Yeah.
but but yeah, like it's just one of those things. Like you would have liked to see them better than what we got them as.
Mm.
Like we got Great Khali with bad knees. Yes, he was huge, and yes, if he hit anybody, I mean, honestly, if it was a real fight, if he could hit somebody, he'd probably knock him out. So it was believable. But it was just one of those things where you're like, this is kind of dumb because he can't even hit the ropes right. Like it's taking him 5 minutes to walk down the entrance aisle. Like I mean, it's just. But he did introduce the Punjabi prison match, or
Oh God. All right, all right, all right. I think you've made your case.
but no,
Look,
I'm actually okay. I'm not. I don't hate it. I don't like it, but I'm okay with it.
look. My bottom line defense of Great Khali being in the Hall of Fame is that Coco Beware is in the Hall of Fame. That's the bottom.
Yeah, I
That's
mean,
that's the bottom. All right. Anything and Khali's just above that in a lot of people's opinion. That's fine. He's a Hall of Famer. But in all seriousness, like, okay, I understand the Great Khali obviously wasn't the best worker, wasn't the
right,
best talker, wasn't the best character. But what he was imposing. He
exactly,
was a threat for like, especially when he had that original run with Taker, and then he went to John Cena, Kurt Angle. He was a threat in those matches. And when you saw him and that chop for a shoot, you could tell that shit hurt because
yeah,
he wasn't like pulling it. It was just I'm gonna chop. I'm 7'3". Just gonna chop you as much as I can. So like he came off as a threat. And the other thing that I think doesn't get talked about, and I think this is more of like a personal thing, I think too. Like for me, like up until that point, dude, the closest I ever got to seeing someone who looked like me to be a world champion or to be in WWE at that point was Muhammad Hassan, who was an Italian and
right,
who they made a terrorist. Like that was his gimmick. So I didn't have much to relate to, you know, like you talked about how Ron Simmons earlier, you talked about how he became like the first African American world champion in history, like that was like you know, and that's a big moment, and you know, like for me, you know, Khali coming in and like being as prominent as he was, you know, whether or not I rooted for him or not, it was big because that was like the first like you know South Asian, Pakistani, Indian, whatever superstar in WWE they ever had that was like pushed like he was,
Right.
like like and he was a threat and like you can't what I don't know what I just said but uh you can't discount though also what he meant to the Indian market as well because Kali was so over in India. Like there has been no one as over in a country other than maybe Steve Austin in 1998 and 1999 than Khali was in India ever. Like Khali can walk down the street to this day in India, he's still gonna get a huge pop from like the market. Like it's insane. Like in India, did you know this? They for Raw, the Raw would be air on the tape delay in India they would edit Raw so that his matches would be in the main event.
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
like
I
Khali
heard
was
that.
so over. It's insane. And he really, I think, helped like just crack into that India market. And you know, they tried that with Jinder Mahal as well. It wasn't as successful because Khali wasn't a part of it. I think Khali's like the biggest star in Indian wrestling history. I think that's why he probably deserves to get into the Hall of Fame. He meant a lot to those people. He meant a lot to me personally as well, you know. And I think like again, Coco Beware is in the Hall of Fame. Tori Wilson is in the Hall of Fame. All
Yeah.
of the like the bar is so low at this point that
Yeah.
man, like if you're complaining about Kali, like who actually won the world championship, whether you liked it or not, he's actually a world champion. Honky Tonk Man is in the hall. Like, come on.
If you talk about Honky Tonk Man as a gimmick, it was terrible. But he's also arguably one of the best Intercontinental champions to ever live. Unfortunately,
Didn't he lose it to the Warrior while singing his song? He
that
still had
was
he still had the guitar on when he lost
that
the
was the funniest shit possible.
Oh,
By the way. but
that's
not
so.
downplaying what he Great Khali was. I mean, like
Watch it. I heard that. I heard you almost said gender.
I did someone sick in them all. Indian people, we like Khali. Please don't get mad at me. But no, like not downplaying what he was because he was actually he did a lot for Indian wrestling. But like I mean, and to piggyback off something you said, I am African American, but I am also lighter skinned. So I've never growing up with like superheroes and stuff like that, I didn't really see anyone that, in my opinion, looked like him. So I get where you're coming from with that. Like most of the superheroes and most of the wrestlers were darker skin. I mean, yes, they were African American, but they didn't necessarily look like me, if that makes any sense.
Mm.
So I get where you're coming from with that. And I can only imagine what other people, you know, especially other Indian people, felt when he won. But like I mean, I joke about it or whatever, but honestly, for that reason alone, he should be in the Hall.
Agreed. Agreed. See, I won. I win. I win no
One
matter
out
what.
of like 1,000. You got one.
Thanks for watching this video from Real Take Sports Talk. Remember to like, share, subscribe, hit that notification bell so you get notified whenever a new video is released. Also, remember to check out our live show every single Thursday at 8 p.m. right here on the YouTube channel. And remember, keep it real.